This is Urso, and Urso has just been handed a blood test with one line highlighted. Creatinine elevated. Creatinine is the number labs use to estimate how well your kidneys are filtering. Urso has been taking creatine for 4 months. He does the obvious arithmetic and panics. The arithmetic is wrong. But it is wrong in a way that is genuinely interesting and that almost nobody explains, including, sometimes, the person reading you the result. Creatine is the most studied sports supplement that exists, and it is also the one with the most persistent scary rumor attached. It wrecks your kidneys. Everybody has heard it. Almost nobody can tell you where it came from.
I would like to state that I am fine.
The International Society of Sports Nutrition has a position stand on this built on more than 500 studies. At the doses people actually take, 3 to 5 grams a day, there is no kidney damage in healthy people. 500 studies is not a rumor, so why does the rumor survive? Part of it is inheritance. The fear was formed in the 90s, in gym culture, back when creatine was new and lumped in with everything else being passed around locker rooms. It arrived with a reputation it did not earn, and reputations outlive evidence. Because of something true, and this is the part worth staying for. A meta-analysis published in November of last year looked at exactly this. Creatine supplementation does raise serum creatinine. Small, but statistically real. I told you, elevated! So the rumor has a receipt. The number on the page really does go up. Now, here is why that is not the same as damage. Creatinine is a breakdown product of creatine. It is what is left when creatine has done its job in your muscle. Take more creatine in, have more creatinine coming out.
That's just me finishing my shift.
And that is worth understanding properly, because it explains the whole video. Creatine's job is to sit in your muscle holding a spare phosphate, so that when a cell burns through its energy currency, it can be recharged in an instant instead of waiting. That is all it does. It is a battery buffer. And every battery that finishes its shift leaves creatinine behind. The lab is not measuring your kidney, it is measuring a substance and then estimating your kidney from it. Feed the substance directly and the estimate drifts while nothing about the filter has changed. Which we can check, because the same meta-analysis checked it. Glomerular filtration rate, the actual measure of how much blood your kidneys are clearing, showed no significant difference between the creatine groups and the controls.
Filtering normally, had been the whole time.
Marker up, function unchanged.
Wow!
If that pattern sounds familiar, it is the same shape as the vitamin D video. The number on the sheet was never the disease. Which gives you the single most useful thing in this video, and it takes 1 sentence. If you take creatine, tell whoever orders your blood work, before the test, not after the scare. It would genuinely help if you mentioned it. Because a doctor who does not know can look at an elevated creatinine and reasonably start investigating your kidneys. That is not them being bad at their job, that is them reading a marker without the context that explains it. And the exception, which matters if you already have kidney disease, none of this is about you. That is a clinical situation. The supplement question goes through your nephrologist, and a YouTube video does not get a vote. So that is the fear handled. Before the good part, one thing worth knowing, because it changes who this whole video is for. Creatine is not a foreign substance you are introducing to your body. Your liver and kidneys make about 1 gram of it a day on their own, right now, whether or not you have ever seen a tub of it.
I live here. I'm not a visitor.
And you eat roughly another gram if you eat meat or fish. It is in the muscle of the animal for the same reason it would be in yours. That is where the battery buffer sits. Which means the powder is not doing anything exotic. It is the same molecule your liver makes, arriving by a shorter route. That is genuinely unusual for a supplement, and it is a large part of why the safety record is what it is. But it has a consequence people miss. If the tank is already full, topping it up does very little.
There is only so much shelf space in there.
Your muscles hold a finite amount, and a meat-eating adult is already carrying most of what fits. So the person who notices the least is the one who was never short. And the person who notices the most is the one running low. Vegetarians and vegans start with measurably less, because they are missing the dietary gram, and in the studies they are the ones whose numbers move the furthest. Hold on to that idea, because it is about to explain the strangest result in this video. The research on creatine that I find most interesting right now is not about muscle at all. Oh! Is it me? It's me, isn't it? Your brain runs on a lot of energy, and it uses the same phosphocreatine system your muscles do. Roughly 1/5 of everything you burn goes to an organ that is about 2% of your weight. So people started asking the obvious question. If the buffer helps a muscle that is working hard, what about the organ that never stops? A systematic review and meta-analysis in adults found benefits in memory, in attention time, and in processing speed, not enormous, but consistent enough to survive pooling. And the effect is not spread evenly, it concentrates in older adults. In the 66 to 76 range, the memory effect comes out at 0.88, which for this kind of research is a big number.
Nobody tells the elderly about this.
And notice the shape of that. The biggest effect shows up in the group you would expect to have the least in the tank to begin with, which is exactly the pattern from a minute ago. I want to be careful here. That is me pointing at a pattern, not a mechanism anyone has proven. But it is the same pattern and it keeps showing up. Which is the strange part. The supplement lives in a marketing world of young men and gym mirrors, and the population where the cognitive signal is strongest is the one nobody is selling it to. There is one more study I want to tell you about and then immediately tell you not to get excited about. An 8-week pilot in Alzheimer's disease. 20 grams a day. They measured brain creatine and it went up 11%, and they saw improvement in total cognition, working memory, and reading recognition.
I made it to the brain. Did you see that?
Now the breaks. 20 patients. Single arm, meaning everybody got the creatine and there was no control group to compare against. 8 weeks. A study like that cannot tell you the drug worked. It can tell you the idea is worth testing properly, and that is genuinely all it is for. If you see this one quoted as a treatment, whoever is quoting it did not read the design. So where does that leave the tub? It is the most studied supplement on the shelf, it costs almost nothing, the dose is 3 to 5 grams, and the thing everybody is afraid of turns out to be a marker moving, not an organ failing. You do not need a loading phase. That is a way to get there faster, not a requirement. You do not need a brand. It is one of the few things in the genre where the cheap tub and the expensive tub contain the same molecule, which makes creatine the mirror image of almost everything else on this channel. Usually, I am here to tell you the bottle is doing less than the label claims. This time, the bottle is doing roughly what it says, and the scary story about it was a reading error.
I have been saying this for years.
Tell your doctor before the test, and if you are over 60, the interesting reason to take it might not be your muscles at all. And one last thing, if this changed what you thought, hit like. That is genuinely what decides whether anybody else gets shown it. Subscribe for the next one, and tell me in the comments which supplement you want Urso to take apart. Step into the light.